Hi friends, this is Pastor Keith for Trinity Chapel Charlotte. Welcome to another edition of Walking Through Westminster as we continue looking at the Westminster Shorter Catechism. I want to thank you for being with me today. I hope that you have had a good holiday and a good start to your new year, 2021. I'm glad to be back at it with you, looking at the Catechism together. So today we come to question 43 in the Westminster Shorter Catechism, and that question asks, what is the preface to the Ten Commandments? And the answer it gives, the preface to the Ten Commandments, is in these words: I am the Lord thy God, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. So we're getting into kind of the meat of the Ten Commandments here with this question, but we want to acknowledge the preface, what the Catechism calls the preface, which is really the introduction to the Ten Commandments that God lays out in Exodus 20. And what happens there in Exodus 20, verse 2, is God sets the stage for how to receive the Ten Commandments. And what's significant for us in the preface to the Ten Commandments is what he says he's already done for Israel. Exodus 20, Mount Sinai, God is giving his law through Moses to his people, and what is happening is God first lays out what he's already done for them before he gives them his commandments. And this is going to be really significant when we think about, as Christians, how to receive and keep the Ten Commandments. The temptation often with the commandments of God is to turn them into some kind of a checklist for how to get God to love you. We often do this with God's law. We will say things like, if I've got to be a good person if I want God to love me, or I've got to keep all these rules if I want God to love me. Maybe on the flip side, maybe you grew up in a house where the idea of love and law were set in contrast to each other, where if God was a God of love, it meant that he didn't require you to keep his law. But what the preface to the Ten Commandments teaches us is that when God gives his law to his people, he first starts with grace. He first starts with what he's already done for them, and then he gives them the commandments he wants them to keep. It doesn't go, keep this law and I will love you. God says, I've already loved you, therefore keep these laws. That's what the preface to the Ten Commandments teaches us. God, before he gives his law, he says, I'm the Lord who brought you out of Egypt. I've delivered you from bondage. I've freed you from slavery already. Therefore, because I have loved you, because I've freed you from slavery, therefore keep these commandments. Therefore, obey these laws that I'm about to give you, Israel. And so this is really significant for us, especially as we go into the Ten Commandments together. The Ten Commandments are predicated on grace. God's law that he gives his people to keep starts with grace. It starts with what he's already done. Romans 5 verse 8 tells us that God demonstrates his love toward us in that while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. God doesn't demand that you clean yourself up first and then Jesus will come save you. If he did that, what would Jesus be coming to save you from? And in the same sense, when God gives his law, he starts with grace. He starts with redemption. He starts with deliverance. And then he gives his laws to his people because he wants us to know that grace always comes first. We obey because God has loved us, not so that we can get God to love us. And that's a crucial distinction, as we'll see going forward in the Ten Commandments. But that's pretty much it for question 43. We'll look next week at question 44, and this will flesh out a little bit more what it means to keep God's laws in relationship with him. Until then, if you appreciate this content, leave a like, leave a comment, share this video with your friends, and we'll look forward to seeing you in the next one. God bless each one of you.